boundaries and authority. Whether you have an insecure attachment style or you have anxiety with relationships, a part of our healing process, a part of the solution is your ability to set boundaries and to be assertive. If you want to be able to end the pattern and the cycle of narcissistic abuse in your life so that you're not constantly attracting narcissists, then the answer is to increase your boundariness and your assertiveness. So we have to have a good understanding around boundaries and assertiveness. And most people think they get it, but they don't truly understand, because you can go and read a book or take a class on how to set boundaries, and you will get the cheap Walmart brand level of boundaries. And then you'll go and you'll take those boundaries and you'll try to set them, and then they'll get walked all over and you won't understand why they didn't work. And then you give up on the setting of the boundaries, and then you continue to get abused again and again and again and again. So we need to learn how to make sure our boundaries are set in a way that really protects us, because boundaries are the protection from ending up in the constant cycle of abuse. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, but we're going to be deeper into the conversation. We have many ways that you can learn the basics of how to set boundaries. You can join my boundaries school, which is available in the Mind Masterclass, or on TikTok. We have a specially shot for TikTok in the long screen format boundaries school, which gets you into the basics of how to set boundaries and learning the skills of assertiveness. So we're not going to go into the basics today, but just for those of you who need a quick refresher or who are new here, boundaries are rules and limitations that you set for yourself. They're rules and limitations that you set for yourself and others in order to protect yourself. So the purpose of them is to protect yourself and your resources. Your resources include your time, your energy, your talent, your money, your finances, your personal space, your body, your beauty, your skills. You have things that are special to you that need to be protected. And so if you're not good at recognizing what you have that other people want, it makes it difficult for you to recognize that you're going to need to set boundaries, and people will come in and they'll try to take from you in an inequitable relationship setup, which is where they get what they want from you, but you're not really getting what you need from them in the relationship. Please understand, every relationship is transactional. Everyone, whether it's a marriage or it's your relationship with your postman, they're giving you something, you're giving them something in return. There's always an exchange that's going on. So when you go to the bank, to the grocery store, you're giving your money, they're giving their products or their services. When you go to work, you're giving your time, your energy, your skills, your talents, right? And you're getting back a paycheck from them. The boss is exchanging some of their resources with you. You're exchanging your resources with them. Every relationship is an exchange of resources. So we have to have boundaries, which means a clear demarcation. This is where I am. That's where you are. You don't cross this line. And who decides where the line is? Well, this is what's important. You are the authority, so you decide where to set the line. We have to let go of the idea that there is universally wrong and universally right boundaries that can be set. I'll repeat that because this is very important. We have to let go of the idea that there are universal wrongs and universal rights when it comes to our boundaries. This maladaptive way of thinking can lead us into not understanding when we should actually speak up and set a boundary, because we think that what they're doing is okay because it's universally right, or for us to get upset over something we don't need to because we think what they're doing is universally wrong. So we need to understand that it's not up to everyone else in the world to tell us what is an okay boundary and what is not an okay boundary to set. It is up to us as individuals to decide what we're going to tolerate and what we will not tolerate in our relationships. So you have that authority. Your authority, once again, is over you and your resources. And you have the authority to decide who will get access to those resources. That's what your authority is based on. So that means you have the power to remove access from your resources. Does that make sense? So no matter who the person is, you can decide to pick up your resources, like you're taking your ball, and you can go home. And you can say, you know what? I'm sorry. With what you've done, I need to enforce my boundaries. And the way that you enforce your boundaries is by picking up your things and by going home. Okay? So that's the basis of your personal authority. You have so much authority that you can actually set rules over other people's behavior. This is the huge thing that is misunderstood in this healing community. People try to say, well, no, boundaries are only the things that affect you, you're around your personal body, and then they try to define it, but they can't really define it, because they are setting a limitation on what you can set limitations on, and they are dead wrong. And that's why they can't figure out where to set the limitation. The reality is there is no limitation on the rules that you can make. You can set limitations on anyone over virtually anything, yes, even over their behavior. Let's take an example. There's nothing wrong for you to say, if you want to be in a relationship with me, you can't smoke. Now, notice when you say you can't smoke, you're saying they can't smoke ever, not just when they're around you. And you have the authority to say that. So you are, in effect, dictating the other person's behavior, are you not? You're informing them that you don't want someone who's a smoker. Or you could say, I don't want someone that uses drugs. Or you could say, I don't want someone to be in an intimate relationship with me and they don't believe in God. Or you could say the opposite. I don't want someone that does believe in God. We get to set our individual rules because it's not based on a universal standard of what's right and wrong. It's based on our personal preference. And we are protecting our well-being by informing someone else of what their behavior can and cannot be. How? Well, it could really bother you if your wife likes to be flirtatious with men, even when you're not around. It bothers you, meaning it disturbs you in your soul. It creates a negative emotional sensation. The negative emotional sensations, pain, anxiety, psychological pain, angst, all of these are there as an informant to you. So it is your body communicating with you. It is your subconscious communicating with you. And what is it telling you? It's letting you know there's a problem. That's what pain is universally. It's something in your body. It's something in your subconscious to let you know when there's an issue. You get physical pain when there's usually a physical issue, and you get psychological pain when there is an issue, something violating your psyche, that is your ego, and that hurts our well-being. When someone is violating our ego, meaning the self is made up of the values. So you have certain things that you hold as dear, beliefs that you hold as dear, your values. And for you, if a person violates those values, you're going to get emotional pain. And that's where emotional pain comes from. Now, again, what is the value of the emotional pain? It is informing you where you need to set the boundaries. Does that make sense? The emotional pain is informing you, hey, it's time to speak up and say something. So you have to pay attention to it. What you don't want to do is say, oh, but I feel like I would be so wrong saying that. No, you can set virtually any rule you want on the authority that you can remove access to yourself. That is what you have the power to do. This is making sense? So let's go outlandish just to really illustrate this example. You can say, I expect anyone that interacts with me to put on a red nose like a clown and make honking noises when they squeeze it. It's an outlandish rule, completely unreasonable. But you say, if anybody wants to be my friend, they got to put on a red nose like a clown. Do you have the authority to dictate that type of behavior in people? Yes, you do. On what basis? That if they don't put on a red nose like a clown and they don't go when they squeeze it, you can say, I'm sorry, you don't get access to my resources because my resources are all mine. So you get no access to my beauty, my body, my talents, my personal space, my time, my insights, my skills. That's it. That's the level of authority you have as an adult. You get to decide who gets access. And you can set even unreasonable rules. Now, of course, we're all going to look at you and say, well, that seems a bit unreasonable. But guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what everyone else says because they're your rules. They're your boundaries. And this is something you may not have gotten early on. You may not have understood that you had the ability to set any rules, set any boundary that you wanted, no matter how ridiculous, on the basis that you could remove access to yourself. You didn't realize you could do that, but you can. And it doesn't matter that you're commenting on someone else's behavior. It's up to you. It's up to you. So we can get more into talking about all that, but it helps for us to understand that since we are equals to every other person, it would be very good for us to have the skills of assertiveness. Now, if you're new to this and you haven't taken my boundaries school course, you have to understand what assertiveness is. Okay? Most trauma survivors think in extremes: black, white, right, wrong, hot, cold. And so when they try to express their boundaries at first, they also express their boundaries in extremes, which is either, I don't say anything. Oh my God, I'm scared to talk. I'm scared to say anything. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to smile, even though I don't feel happy. I'm just going to nod my head and go along with it, even though I don't agree. Or they go to the other extreme and they say, if you cough too loud one more time, this relationship's over. They set really intense stakes, right? So I was working with a survivor yesterday. She said she didn't like it when her boyfriend would get angry and throw something, like he would throw a tool or something like that. And it wouldn't be anger directed at her. He was just frustrated with something he was doing. But she said it triggered her when he would throw something because of her past abusive relationships. So she decided to set a boundary. And so one day he was fixing the sink and he got mad and he tossed a screw again across the floor. And so she said to him, if you throw one more thing, this is over. I am gone. Now let's freeze this scenario for a second. Let's analyze this. Did she act within her authority? Yeah. She has the ability to set any rule she wants. And she laid down the law. She said, if he throws another screw, she's going to leave. And, well, she has the power to do that. But did she have the skills of assertiveness in this scenario? You see, she may have been a bit extreme in the first time of telling him that something was bothering her. And this is a situation where it's not particularly dangerous. She said that she's just going to leave if he does it one more time. Can you imagine how now that creates kind of an eggshells environment for him? So now it's like he's done something his whole life and he doesn't mean any harm by it. But if he just does it one more time, he loses his whole girlfriend. So that could be a little tight, a little constraining, right? And so sometimes that's not the way we really mean it. We don't mean to like put someone in so much tight constraints that they can't move. So again, she acted within her authority, and we have to let that be. But with the skills of assertiveness, she might have been able to express herself more accurately by saying something to the effect of, "Honey, can I talk to you? Listen, I notice sometimes you have a habit of throwing something when you get upset. And I know you don't mean any harm. And I know that I'm safe with you. But when you do that, it bothers me. So I would ask that you be mindful of that. And please try your best not to throw things in my presence. I'll try my best not to be very triggerable, but this is something that's important to me. And I would ask that you really take it seriously. Do you think you could do that for me?" Of course, the boyfriend's going to say, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to try." And this is a little bit better because it's not sudden death, right? It's not like if he does it one more time, now you're obligated by your word to pack everything up and to leave. You see? So what we've done here is we've employed the skills of assertiveness. So what really is assertiveness? We want to think balance between hot and cold, between the two extremes. Literally, to be assertive means to tell the truth. To be assertive means to tell the truth. To state facts is the dictionary definition of assertiveness. To state facts. So the better at telling the truth you are, the more assertive you are. The skills of assertiveness is what I use to refer to your ability to give the truth to someone in a way that is palatable. Because someone could say, "Hey, I want some water," and you can give them water through a fire hose aimed at their face. But that's not very palatable, is it? So it's more skilled to hand them a glass of water. And that's the same way we want to give people the water of truth, right? We want to hand it to them in a way that they can actually consume it. And that's what the skills of assertiveness does. It allows us to learn what we need to do in order to give them what they need to hear, the truth, but not in a way that makes it too extreme for them. So we're not yelling or setting really harsh rules in a harsh manner or embarrassing them, right? Like a woman can yell out, "Hey, you're standing too close to me," in a crowded public place, and she's in her right to defend her space. But she could also embarrass the man that was maybe innocently standing too close, but whatever his intention, the skills of assertiveness allows her to do it in a way that doesn't necessarily cause the additional unnecessary pain and embarrassment. Does that make sense? Such as to speak to him quietly and say, "Excuse me, do you mind not standing so close?" This is making sense so far? So you need to learn the skills of assertiveness. Where can you learn the skills of assertiveness? In the trauma healing course that's on the website, on my YouTube, in my boundaries school, on TikTok. Take one of the classes or jump into the free videos. Learn them. You need to learn the skills of assertiveness. In the book, Mind by Zanoni, learn the skills. We need these. When we don't have the skills of assertiveness, that's what's making us have the anxious attachment, the insecure attachment, the avoidant attachment, because we don't know how to set boundaries. We don't know how to be assertive. We don't know how to be real. And so we're just fake. And then, "Oh, I'm so tired of being fake. I'm just going to avoid all people." Or, "It doesn't work with me being fake all the time. I don't want to talk to anyone." Does that make sense? So we're setting ourselves up for success when we have boundaries, and we're setting other people up for success when we have the skills of assertiveness, the ability to communicate with them in a way that they can actually accept the information. One woman set up a boundary for herself based on her feelings. She was really bothered by her interactions with people where they would call her all the time. So she just made a rule like, "You know what, for me, if you're in a new relationship with me, I prefer text." Just a rule. Does everyone have to follow that rule? Yep. She's got the authority. That's what you can do for yourself. Listen to your feelings, pay attention to you, to what you need, and set for yourself the boundaries that will keep you safe and will make you feel safe, good, happy, content. Does it matter if other people think that they're reasonable? Not really, no. So stop asking other people, hey, do you think I'm right to tell my boyfriend that he can't? Why are you asking other people? They don't know. You're the authority. So you set the boundaries based on what you conclude. So how do we know our boundaries haven't crossed into being actually controlling? Because Roman, you're saying I can tell other people what they can do. So isn't that control? Like, how do we differentiate what's control and what's setting our own boundaries? The differentiation between control and setting your own boundaries isn't based on what you tell people. Again, this idea of universally right and wrong boundaries is not what it is. So it's not, oh, a husband can't tell his wife what she can wear. Yeah, he can. A wife can't tell her husband who he can talk to. Yes, she can. It's not about what is said. It's about the intent behind it and the method used of motivation or enforcement. That's what creates something as being controlling. If the intention is to violate someone else, then it is controlling. If the intention was simply to protect your own well-being, that's not control. It's not what you said that makes it controlling. It's the intention behind it. Does that make sense? Let's take an example. A wife says to her husband, no, wear khakis to my mom's house today, not jeans. Is she controlling? What do you think? Is she controlling? Well, if you answered yes or no, you failed the test. Listen carefully. It's not what is said that makes it controlling. It's the intent behind it. If her intention was to take away his autonomy, take away his sense of self, take away his personal identity and personal expression and freedom, then it was controlling. But if her intention was simply to help him to set the best foot forward, because she knows her family and she knows her husband, and she just thinks he'll really look best in this, and so there's pure intention behind it, and it would make her feel more comfortable. She's simply expressing her preference. You see, it's the same thing. She said, no, wear the khakis, but it's not what she said. It's the intention that makes it controlling versus not being controlling. And so many trauma survivors want to know if people are trying to control them. Now that Roman's saying that they can't tell by what the person is saying, then they're wondering, well, how do I know if someone has evil intent? How do I know if a man who's trying to tell me where to go, where to stand, what to do, how do I know if he's really trying to control me? Here's the answer. You don't. You don't know people's intentions. So stop trying to figure that out. You're not a mind reader. You are not God. You cannot read the heart of an individual. You're a human. So you have to be able to go through life giving people the benefit of the doubt, which is to assume that they have the best motive, although not everyone does, but you assume they have the best motive. And so how do you stay safe from all the evil people, the snakes, the narcissists? How do you stay safe from the people who are trying to abuse you, who have evil intent? Your boundaries will keep you safe. Your boundaries will keep you safe. How do I know when to set a boundary? You're going to listen to your feelings. You're going to analyze the situation. And you're going to decide for yourself. It's up to you. I'm going to give you another test. See if you get this. A man tells a woman, now, put your arms like a chicken wing and squawk like a chicken. A man tells a woman to put her arms like a chicken wing, squawk like a chicken. Should she do it? Isn't he clearly being controlling? Isn't this diminishing? What do you think? Is this control? Or is he within his rights? Well, if you answered that she shouldn't do it and that this is controlling, you failed the test. Still don't understand. We cannot read the intentions of the other person. Her boundaries will keep her safe. So she's not going to try to decide, is this man an intentional abuser? She's going to listen to her boundaries. And so she's going to go into that situation. She's going to say, you know what? I feel comfortable taking this direction. Why would she say that? Well, because she's analyzed the situation and he's the director of a play that she's auditioning for. And the play is about farm animals. She's auditioning to be one of the farm animals in the play. And so she doesn't feel within her feelings that this is diminishing at all. In fact, she would be honored to get the role of a chicken in the farm animal play. You see why we need to stop trying to decide what's universally right and wrong? Why we need to stop trying to read what people's intentions are? Let your boundaries keep you safe. For her, she feels fine because she's analyzed the situation. She thinks it's fine and this is what she wants. So she does it and it's good. And she goes home, she feels great, right? So what makes something control is the intent, but you don't know the intent of the person. So you can only analyze for yourself what your intent is. Likewise, the other thing that'll make something control is the motivational factor or the enforcement factor. So we use, that's not controlling, the enforcement of I will remove myself and access to my resources. Now, we're not doing that to harm someone. It does not violate a person's boundaries to remove yourself. And also the idea there is not to control, not to scare the person. But when a person tries to intentionally frighten you, or they try to harm you, or they threaten harm, that is coercive control. So again, it's not what's being asked. Someone could say, take out the garbage. If you don't take out the garbage, I'm going to stab you. That's coercive control. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to harm you. I'm going to violate your boundaries. I'm going to take something away from you. I'm going to take away your children. I'm going to take away your money. I'm going to cut off your access to your own things that you have the right of. That's where it crosses into coercive control. Is that making sense? So it's the intention and it's the enforcement or the motivational factor that's being used. Now, is all control bad? Not necessarily, right? Because a parent could tell their kids, hey, if you clean up your room, you get ice cream. She's trying to control their behavior, right? But it's not evil. It's not necessarily bad. So it's important to recognize control in itself isn't bad. We do attempt at times, in appropriate circumstances, to control behavior of others. But we must recognize that when we're in a position of authority like a parent, we're trying to do it in a way that's going to benefit those who are following our leadership. So if you're a person who has deep authority, like a parent, a boss at work where you have authority over people's livelihoods, a police officer, at those times, you need to set up boundaries around your own authority so that you can exercise that authority in a way that's to the benefit of others, not just to the coercive control of others. Does that make sense? This is demonstrated, for instance, by parents who may knock on the bedroom door of their child, even though they own this whole house. But they're doing that to teach the child, you're worthy of space. You're worthy of your own space. And so where appropriate, I will assign you that worth. I will assign you that space. I will assign you that boundary so that you learn boundaries for yourself. so that you learn that you're worthy of setting those boundaries. And you see how that starts to train the child. And when we instead commend a child for speaking up, the child says, well, I don't want to go to the park. I don't want to go to school or something like that. And when you're able to, as is age appropriate, say, I appreciate you telling me your thoughts on that. However, I still do insist that you go to school, but I do appreciate you telling me how you feel, and I'm happy to talk to you about it, why you feel that way, so on and so forth, right? What we're doing there is we're helping to not just extinguish the voice of the child, but we're helping them to cultivate the ability to express themselves and to understand, oh, I'll be heard. Oh, what I say is important. My feelings are important because they seem to be validated in this family. Does that make sense? Hopefully we're going deeper here, right? We're getting into some of the deeper concepts around authority and assertiveness and boundaries. So hopefully some of this is starting to make sense to you.